Save mental energy managing your WordPress site with easy-to-use DIY features from WP Engine's managed WordPress hosting. Visit wpengine.com/loveyourwork for up to 4 months free. This is Love Your Work. This show will help you define and achieve your own version of success. I'm David Cadvey, and I'm a best-selling author, a bootstrapped entrepreneur, and an award-winning designer. I've built a business and a lifestyle that fits my values, and I want to help you do the same. So every Thursday, I bring you a new episode of Love Your Work. I seek out one-of-a-kind entrepreneurs and creators that break away from the pack. I dissect their unique paths and pull out the lessons you can use for your own journey. Learn how you can turn challenges into opportunities, how you can cut out the noise to focus, and how you can find the clues that will lead you to your calling. So check out Paul Bennett on episode 15. He sailed around the world while running his business. Or Elise Bauer on episode 33. She bounced back from an illness to build a food blogging empire. And don't miss Jason Fried on episode 1 and former AOL CEO Steve Case on episode 25. I also bring on experts who will help you be more productive, creative, and healthier. So check out neuroscientist John Cunhos on episode 8, Ryan Holiday on episode 31, and Dr. Terry Walls on episode 35. And thanks so much to you loyal and early listeners. With your support, Love Your Work regularly ranked in the top 50 or so careers podcasts on iTunes. Our average downloads per episode have been steadily growing, but I still need your help to push this podcast further. Love Your Work is still a well-kept secret that I make by hand in this little closet down in Colombia, and I need you to get the word out. The best thing you can do right now to keep these episodes coming is write a review on the iTunes store. Here's a couple of the latest ones. AF Doeg says, I've been listening on commutes and I can't get enough, and gives it 5 stars. St. Nick's says, 6 episodes in and I'm hooked, and gives it 5 stars. Vacationaholic calls it therapy in my ears and also gives it 5 stars. Just go to cadvey.net/review and review Love Your Work on the iTunes store. It only takes a minute and it's a huge help. We have around 3,000 listeners every episode, and we only have 69 reviews in the iTunes store in the US. So I know some of you are out there. I really appreciate your listening, but I also really appreciate your support with a review. Please and thank you. This week's guest is a close friend of mine who has been one of my secret weapons in my own battle as an entrepreneur. Years ago, when I first started out on my own, I was wandering from cafe to cafe in San Francisco working on a Facebook app, and Noah Kagan invited me to bring my laptop to his office space. He was building his own Facebook app empire at the time, and we'd get burritos in South Park in SOMA, and Noah always had fresh ideas. Ever since then, when I've struggled with motivation, whenever I've felt overwhelmed in my business, I've asked myself, what would Noah Kagan do? Noah is now best known for AppSumo, which is a daily deals site for digital goods, and also SumoMe, which is a little toolkit you can install on your website to grow your audience with email signups, a share widget, click heat maps, and a bunch more tools. You may have also heard of Noah because he's missed out on some big exits. He was number 4 at Mint, which sold to Intuit for $170 million, and he was number 30 at Facebook, which is currently valued at more than $350 billion, but he got fired after 8 months. So Noah potentially missed out on easily more than $100 million. Most people hear that, and it sounds totally devastating. But I know Noah, and I don't think he would change a thing. That's because Noah has injected his own personality and his own unique way of doing things into his businesses, and he's found success his own way. He's done that better than anyone that I know. He works really hard, but he always makes it fun. In fact, I sat down during a retreat he organized with his company in Chicago. The retreat even had a t-shirt with a sumo on it and everything, and Noah was, of course, wearing it. And I can recall many different 2-minute conversations that I had with Noah that have led to big breakthroughs. And wow, we have more than an hour here. Listen to this episode and learn about continuous improvement. How does Noah keep improving in his business, specifically when it comes to running webinars? How do you incentivize others to be selfish and get them to share? How do you balance the art of a business with the operations? How do you find complementary team members? How do you pick your battles to have the biggest impact with the least headaches? Why is discomfort your compass? And why might you want to read the same book over and over again? It was great fun to sit down in person with my friend of 10 years. Here's Noah Kagan. Want to maximize your email marketing? You should try ActiveCampaign. I switched last year from MailChimp and I love it. With email marketing, marketing automation, and a sales CRM, it's a powerful, intuitive, and complete platform. Claim your 14-day free trial of ActiveCampaign at activecampaign.com/loveyourwork. All right, I'm here with Noah Kagan in Chicago, of all places. And what are you doing in Chicago?
Hi, David.
Hi, Noah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm in Chi-Town. Do you guys call it Chirac?
You know, some people do, I think. I've never been into calling any sort of place, like people who say San Fran.
What do you say?
I find it really grating on my ears.
I say Chi-Ran or sometimes Chi-Israel, but it like really depends what other countries have the same spellings that I can do that with.
Some people call it Chi-Town too, but I also, you know, you can go ahead and call it. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah, Chicago. No, so I am here. This weekend I was here because my friend got married months ago. So for his wedding gift, I took him to Alinea and Aviary. And so we had a nice weekend for that. And then the rest of the team from the sumo group, we're all coming out for a team retreat. We do this 1 week retreat where we party, we cry. It's like summer camp for adults.
Right, for adult sumos.
For adult sumos. So we basically come out and we have all these activities and bonding and fun things to do, and you get to know each other.
So for people who don't know what Alinea and Aviary is, how would you describe?
It's like, how do you describe it to your grandmother? It's basically there's different levels of food, right? So there's an egg, and you can eat an egg. It's very ordinary. It's pretty standard. You have a hard-boiled egg anywhere. And then you get up in terms of complexity of food, right? Yeah. So then you have then you make an omelet. Then you do this. And then, so these guys are doing dishes that are 10 times.
Then you make a hot air balloon out of eggs.
Out of eggs that has sugar and helium inside. This is true. Covered in sugar that you eat, suck the helium, and then you eat the string as well.
Yeah, I saw the video on Snapchat, and your dining partner had a very high voice from the helium in some sort of balloon.
I mean, it's just basically if you had to think in terms of an education system, your local McDonald's is elementary school. This is PhD thesis from Harvard in terms of the complexity. And then Aviary that's for food. And then Aviary is that for drinks. Yeah. So they had a drink that came in a bag that smelled like oatmeal. There's these things, I call it white people things, where I'm like, why are you guys paying for this stuff, right?
The drinks are $25 a piece.
Oh, yeah, it's expensive. But and it's houses and a lot of the architecture that I'm man, it's all the same. It all looks ordinary. This was different. To me, this was I'm happy to pay $20 a drink, which I think is really high, but I think the value was there. Yeah, to have these drinks that
they take it to a whole other level.
It's just something that you'll only experience very infrequently in your life. Right. And those are the moments of life that you will never forget. What you had for lunch last week, you're going to forget.
Right.
But I remember being at Aviary with you and the drinks we had. I've never forgotten that. It's interesting to kind of think about what food or experiences or activities do you really remember?
And we were just talking about during lunch how when you and I went to Aviary, I remember that you had some ramen. And then and they were like, oh, how's your ramen? And you said, it's just okay. It's all right. And so when they brought the check, they said, oh, we took the ramen off the bill because you didn't love it. Mm-hmm. And so did that work? You ended up going back, didn't you?
Yeah. I think that's another thing, just for anyone listening. One of my favorite not favorite, but a thing I prefer is when I'm at restaurants, I'm not looking to get a discount. I don't want to get the free ramen, but I want them to actually be better. Right. So when they're like, how's your food? Everyone always says this, 90%. What's good?
It's fine. It's good.
Right?
Even when it's not. I do it all the time.
Why don't we tell the truth? Why don't we say no, this was shitty. This was cold. I think you could have put a little more cumin in this.
Yeah.
I think partly because I don't think they want the feedback. So they're dude, I'm the waiter. I don't care.
And I can't do much about it.
Yeah.
It's have you ever gone to the grocery store and they say, oh, did you find everything all right? And you're like, no, you were out of whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, yeah. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that at all.
They always ask you at the end, too. I'm like, bro, I've been looking for a while. Or at the restaurant. So this is something, a pet peeve of mine. Don't tell me about your specials after I've already committed to the menu. I've already been here. Yeah. I'm already reading the menu. And they're like, hey, do you want to hear the special? I'm like, no, I love the turkey sandwich. I don't want to hear your specials.
I'm terrible with specials because as they're talking, I'm not even listening. It's just completely going straight. Maybe there's different people who hear things, who consume information differently or something, and they like hearing the specials
versus the visual.
I'm never paying attention to the specials.
Well, because normally if the specials are on paper, I think I'm probably more likely to order it versus having to like process it from someone verbally saying it. Mm-hmm. The thing with the feedback on the restaurants for me, it's like a lot of times they walk around like a manager. How's the food? How's the food? They don't want to hear anything. But sometimes I get the impression that it's a person that has the ability to change it or is really interested. I would prefer to say like, this is why I think you can make it a lot better.
They want to give the impression that they care. Is that kind of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're fake caring. Oh, food's good, yeah. I'm like, well, one, they set up the question poorly, but I think like with our companies, sometimes people ask, and I know you were talking about success, like why I think we've done relatively well, is because we're like, one, we're probably just never satisfied, but we ask ourselves that a lot of the time, like which part of our ramen is cold? And like, how do we make it better? And then we make a better soup, and we're like, what's cold about this? And then it's just like that continual thing where like almost never in business is it right.
Is there any specific times where that happened recently?
Yeah, I mean, one example is, I can go through a few ones, but one specifically is like webinars. So we started doing webinars as kind of like an education thing and as a sales thing about 3 months ago. And the first one was not, I just did it live, off the cuff. And so the trains here are so loud, by the way. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Chicago, but these are like abnormally loud.
Oh, yeah, that is a train. Yeah, there's a train.
Yeah, if you're far away enough, it kind of sounds like the ocean.
I thought that was the AC.
You're probably used to it.
I was like, I'm gonna have to get rid of this. Do that in post or something. Get rid of it.
It is amazing how we acclimate to our environments. So changing environments is a good thing, but it's also interesting how you just get used to that train. That, like for you, it's the AC. So with webinars coming back, like we did the first webinar, and I think one of the hardest things for people in general is to review their own work. So for me to hear my own voice, see my own presentation, I'm like, it's cringy. It's cringing. It's not a word.
You're telling me I have a podcast.
Yeah, and like my voice sounds like Jewish nasally. Like I'm like, oh, hello, it's Noah Kagan.
Nobody likes their own voice.
I wonder if someone does. Like maybe
you know what? I have to admit, I don't mind listening to my own voice that much. I probably shouldn't even say that.
Is this like a PG friendly? Do we do non-swearing?
You can go say whatever you want.
I was thinking it's like masturbating to yourself in the mirror. That's what it is. Like, which is a pretty like awkward thing to be doing.
For reference, we had Tucker Max on here talking about a threesome that went terribly wrong.
Yeah, only him could do those kind of things.
Right.
So with the webinar, you record it, and I think one of the two best things for me that I've done is that one, I'll go and watch the whole thing. I will take exact notes, and I'll be like, all right, next time I'm going to make these changes. The two other things that were really helpful, I think in life, is to get an editor. To get like someone to edit your stuff, right? In writing, in marketing, in sales, or in anything. So Anton is like my boy. Like he's like one of my best friends, and I trust his opinion. And so I've had him and then I have him watch it, and he's like, you need to do this, you need to do this. You need to, like, change-wise. You sold in the beginning, but no one bought. They all bought at the end. Let's try to make the sell at the end better. For webinars, put the agenda in the beginning. I didn't have the agenda. The agenda was in the middle.
Well, it sucks if you come to a webinar and you expect a certain thing and you end up with something else. So it's if you put the agenda in the beginning, then you're respecting people's time.
Well, that's something I didn't even think about. And I know people, and so for webinars, there was just more of a framework that Anton was able to edit for me. So like put an agenda, you want to have some aha moments. So I didn't realize that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Doing things live is nice, but it slows things down and there's variables that get messed up. So moving things to more of a PowerPoint demo for everything. Getting some aha wins really quickly for people. So showing them things with sumomi.com, like with the tools for email list growth and marketing, like show them how to set up a pop-up really quickly and like the exact settings that'll work. How to show a landing page with welcome at really, really quickly. And like, if you use this text, and basically getting someone to an aha moment with some nugget. So like this podcast will be very popular if someone has something that they can go do instantly right now.
Yeah, and there's definitely going to be some of that.
There will be. And so that was that. And then the other two things in terms of how to improve was, one, going to an expert. So Anton is my editor, but then I went to someone else who I liked their webinars. Yeah. And I sent him my webinar. I said, I'm going to pay you a lot of money to watch this whole thing and you tell me what to do.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so I paid him. He didn't want money, but I was like, I'll pay you. Because if you think about it, like...
That person didn't take your money.
Did I pay him? I don't remember.
You gotta force them to take the money because otherwise they're not gonna do it.
I did send him some stuff. I generally prefer not. It's like the social taboos. You don't want to like bring someone cash. You bring them a wine bottle if you're coming over for dinner.
Yeah. Well, but they're basically your consultant. In that
case. But so basically my point though is that if you're trying to be the best in something or you're trying to be improving it, go to someone who's great, pay them a shit ton of money, And then forever, I will have a better format for my webinars and presentations. So that was awesome.
Sorry to interrupt. I just didn't want to.
Don't say, people shouldn't say sorry to interrupt if you really
Sorry to interrupt because I'm interrupting. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you anyway.
I interrupt. I'm like, yo, I am interrupting because there's something better to say than you.
I'm going to interrupt you right now. But I think it's interesting that you did the webinar, though, knowing that it wasn't going to be perfect in the first place. You know, some people might have just like not done the webinar and then studied a bunch of webinars and then never done their webinar.
It's more fun and safer to do that, right? It's definitely easier to be like thinking about it. You write your plans, you watch them, you buy more books. That's why.
But don't you think it's fun to kind of do the webinar when you don't know what's going on? Like it gets boring if you know what's going on every time, right?
Well, I think there's two things with that for me. One, I think a lot of businesses, and we have this problem with Sumo Group, you know, with AppSumo and SumoMe.com. Sumo is our main product. We do things and we find things that work. So like webinars, for instance, are a great example. We did webinars and we make, like 100 sales a month through a webinar, let's say, just give or take. Then we'll, like 1 month where our sales are down, we're like, what happened? We're like, oh, we stopped doing webinars. It's like, well, why'd you stop doing webinars? I don't know. Why'd we stop? I don't know. And so, I think the critical thing is doing something that works.
Yeah.
Continuing it, and then not just that, but how do you do more of it? I think most people do it and they're like, oh, this is good, I'll keep it. No, how do you do 2 times more? Can you do twice as many webinars? Can you go to other people's businesses and do webinars? And I think that's where we've had a lot of success. So like sales. We hired one sales guy. We're like, sales is working with SumoMe. This is awesome because our customers want to talk to us. Let's hire as many salespeople as we can.
So the takeaway then is if something is working, do more of it. Is that?
I know, but that's the hard cliche ones. Some of these things that you learn the lessons, it's only if you've experienced it, I think you can learn. Or hopefully you can take some of the advice and say, all right, well, I was talking to this VP of marketing from Dell last week. And he's like, no, if you can only really do 2 channels of marketing or activities to grow your business, what would you do? And I was like, sales. He's like, so what are you doing about that? I'm like, not enough. And so it was interesting to if you take that moment, like your podcast, if there was like one thing that you could do, like only one activity that would grow your podcast, like what would you do?
Oh man, you want me to tell you right now? One thing I could do is I could get transcripts made of all the episodes, so I would have some long tail search. That'd be one thing that could grow.
That is one thing.
It wouldn't necessarily be the best.
It's not necessarily the best. I guess what I would do if I were
I could get Noah Kagan on my podcast.
Yes. Well, what I would do if I was number one, look at what you've done historically with the podcast that's worked.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, hey, what did you just tell me at lunch? You interviewed Simply Recipes. She posted on her Facebook page. Shit went crazy, and you got a lot more downloads than you ever have. Yeah. And we're gonna beat that because my mom is gonna download this 6,000 times. Like she's gonna be on her MacBook 94. But my point is looking back historically to say, all right, well, what did I do or what things can I try to reproduce that will help me grow? So let's say 2 things I would say. 1, it sounds like if you get guests that already have an audience.
Yes.
Right? And 2, make it very easy and accessible and encourage them to want to promote it on a very light ask. So, hey, I really enjoyed our interview. I'd love to give your audience like a free microphone or something. And if you shared it on your Facebook page, like here's the text for you to share it. And that alone is like, all right, cool. That's something easily and repeatable.
It's funny that you mention it because that's kind of the prevailing wisdom in podcasting is, get somebody with a big audience and then you'll grow your audience that way and ask them to share it with your audience. But I've always tried to resist thinking about it that way because I want my ideas for guests to come from who I think is interesting and who has something that I want to share.
Yeah.
And then I don't really ask people to share it, but people do. And so in the case of Elise, who has a big audience, I wasn't even thinking about it. I just loved her website and I loved her story. And I think part of that might even be what makes people want to share it is because there's some authenticity there that they find exciting and that they want to share. So
I think
I've been on podcasts before where they expect you to share.
It's obvious. They're like, hey, here's your link to share it
it's
out.
Obvious, that's all they want.
Yeah, it's like, bro, I need at least an appetizer before sleeping together. Like I don't just jump right into bed.
Yeah.
But I think that's a fundamental challenge between creatives and like operational people.
Yes.
Where like my default is thinking about how to get people to listen to it.
Yes.
Like that is my initial thought, and I work backwards from that. And yours is working, and obviously if I was doing a podcast, I'd want to have interesting people, but it would also be like clearly with the intent, I want to have a certain amount of audience listening to it. And you're coming from an approach of like, it's definitely like, artist, creative mindset, which is not bad, but It's like, I'm going to do this stuff, put it out into the earth, and then hopefully shit happens, where I'm more of like, I guess we would say instead of serendipity, more of the planner.
Yeah.
Like here's my goal, here's my directions on getting my goal, and then I'm going to go execute on it and see how it goes.
And I've got to do both. it's straddling the line. It's not to say that I've never booked a podcast guest and thought, oh wow, that person has a good audience. Maybe they'll share it. Maybe more people will listen.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to make it like take over.
Yeah.
Or whatever as a.
I think what most people do, and including myself, like we were talking about a friend of yours, someone who doesn't like me. How do you incentivize people to be selfish, right? So thinking of it, obviously from my perspective, so how does David selfishly, in his own way, get me excited to want to do something for you?
Yes.
And so I think that is sales, that is marketing with partnerships, I guess business development. And so a lot of it is like, how do you really make it such a thing for me that I'm excited to do it?
Yeah. Like if I get you to pitch something that you want people to hear about in this podcast,
totally,
then that would make you excited to share it.
Exactly. Well, like if, it's like in blog posts, a lot of people mention other people in it so that, hey, I mentioned you in this blog post, that they're also likely to kind of...
Or the roundups, right? We've got 100 different SEO experts that are all giving their... and you get those emails for roundups probably. Now it's become such a thing now that now you just turn them down because...
Well, it's just lazy.
Because it's lazy.
Yeah, but the point being is that like you have to figure out how to really make it worth it for them versus like when these roundup emails I get, it's like, all right, so you want me to do all this work, I give it to you, and then I have to promote you more. So like, when do I get anything?
Well, how about, when I told you, okay, the Jason Fried episode was the most popular episode, and then now Elise Bauer has come along, and I think by now her episodes probably has the most downloads now.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like you want to beat that.
I would love to beat her.
Like you feel incentivized to... I need to have like a leaderboard for all of my guests, and I'll send it out to them every week. I'm
pretty much going to dedicate my life to this. I mean, this is obviously what I should spend my whole day doing, is promoting this one podcast. Anyways,
yeah, it is totally what you should.
So, and I think that they're coming back to the webinars thing full circle. I think there's what I've noticed with my professional career, I put that in air quotes because I'm not really professional. Somehow I make money for playing on computers. Mm-hmm. I think there's two different types of personalities I've seen. I don't know why I always do binary things, but it helps me process. I've seen people who are like a creator and an instigator and a starter and like agent of change, whatever kind of buzzword you want to use. And that is me. And I understand myself to that. Mostly, I'm working through that. But I understand myself that I love starting. So, hey, no, do it. Okay, cool. I want to figure that out. Mm-hmm. I want to be that like explorer. And if it fails, fine. I'll figure it out. I'll see what didn't work. I'll make that better. And then you contrast that. There are people who are like, I would say, maintainers or sustainers. Operational people.
Is that Anton?
Anton is a lot more stable than me in different ways, yeah. And we balance each other out because I'm more comfortable doing certain things than he's not. Yeah. And so I'll start something and then he's able to take it to that next level. And I think one, like as a way I look at it from hiring, when I'm doing hiring at sumomi.com, like that plug. Actually, I heard this. If you're ever speaking on a podcast or on stage, you have to mention whatever you want to talk about 7 times. Oh, Someone told this to me once and I just always try to do it. So if I'm ever speaking at an event, no, I think that was like 3 by now, actually.
Oh, about hiring?
About sumomi.com.
Oh, about sumomi.com. Okay.
5.
I thought it was specifically about hiring and recruiting for sumomi.com.
6. We are hiring at that company.
At sumomi.com?
Stop. That was 7. Now we can stop. But anyways, now that's a tidbit that people now, when they're doing a podcast or speaking in public, they're like, I got to mention it 7 times. Nick Holland taught me that one. Now Nick's going to promote the podcast. So one thing that I do, one of my favorite questions one of my most important things I'm doing when I'm interviewing, and we are interviewing a lot, is I look for how long their jobs are.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's almost the first thing I look at. I'm like, in the past 2 to 3 jobs, how long were they there? Because this millennial generation, which I'm like at the tail end of it being 30-ish, most people are like 9 months, 6 months. And I just instantly will never hire them. Like 2 people in our company, and they had like extenuating circumstances we've hired, and they're amazing. Shane and Mark are dope. But for the most part, anybody there that's less than a year doesn't really, I think, complement my personality and the style of the business, where I'm looking for people who don't want jobs but want to love what they do.
What's funny is your jobs you probably had for like 9 months when you were working.
Yeah, most of the jobs when I was working on someone else's team, where Facebook was 9 months, Mint was 9 months. I did, Facebook games and payments for games. I was like a year-ish.
Yeah. But, it wasn't your destiny, anyways.
No, it was not. And then Sumo Group, where I love Chad, my business partner, and all the rest of the team. I'm doing it 6 years now, over 6 years, longest job I've ever had. But I look for people that they've already shown evidence that they'll stick around on something. Yeah. And that compliments me because like I'm happy to start new things and then find people who are a little more comfortable helping continue it.
The same way
there's
that
a balance in that.
the same way that you're doubling down on the things that are working in your business, you're sort of trusting that, if this person can dedicate themselves to something, then they can dedicate themselves to something in this business. So,
like, sometimes I feel it's good and bad that people don't leave our company. Like, people don't really leave.
Yeah.
But it's also because I think we have a lot of fun. We're working on something purposeful. People get paid well. I do almost anything in my power.
Do you have like open conversations with those people? Like, hey, what's your ultimate thing? Are you going to leave someday? And how can we make that transition good? Or
it's an interesting trade-off, right? Because I think some of the best people are that, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's like dating someone that you know is going to break up with you.
Yeah.
So I'm actually looking more for someone I'm marrying. Like, I think hiring is almost identical, very parallel and identical to hiring and dating. It's almost the same. Like, you have to go through a lot of people. You have to understand what you need. You have to understand like what kind of chemistry and what kind of things you want. But I think I generally look for people that are looking for something long term and have already shown that they can do that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that you're mentioning sort of doubling down on things that have already worked. One of the things that I think that I learned from you over the years was to actually just go ahead and get started. Like, when I'm just talking about the fact that you did the webinar, and so many people just never even get started.
Yeah.
Did you ever struggle with that yourself? I mean, that's what I learned from you.
What have I not started? I think it's interesting to notice the things that I avoid.
Yeah.
Like, what things do you have on your to-do list that are longer than a week, and why?
Yeah.
Right? Because we all have things on our to-do list, and I noticed that I'm like, okay, what is it about this one that I'm not willing to go into? And I think what I've noticed professionally is that, like, you get into these comfortable parts where you're like, I'm kind of learning, but I'm a professional, but I'm not really growing as much. Yeah. And I felt like that a little bit about 2 to 3 months ago. Things that I have avoided have been like recruiting specifically. I've definitely avoided recruiting for a long time, where I kind of come into it and I get out of it. It's very taxing. It's very promising. Like, we've hired people recently, Bar, Ronna, Kevin, some of these guys, Sean, that like bring so much energy and life to our company that I just love being around them. And that's where it's very rewarding. But it's like 90% of the rest of the time I'm not avoiding it, but I'm like, this is really not fun work.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like getting started with that, it was just like, I think with most success, it comes through a lot of sacrifice and suffering and things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like my favorite, sorry.
So I was going to say the recruiting, and don't stop apologizing.
I won't.
I'm kidding. You can apologize all you want. With the recruiting.
I don't like when people apologize unnecessarily. Like, if you're from Hawaii, people know. If you're in Hawaiians do it. Like,
really?
I have a bunch of Hawaiian friends. They'll say sorry a lot. I don't know why that is, but it's interesting. Notice it when you have a Hawaiian friend.
Yeah. I had a roommate once that said sorry a lot. It was too much.
Oh, that's sorry.
Too many sorries.
Yeah. All right, so what do you say about recruiting?
Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
So the recruiting, I completely forgot what I was going to ask
about
you
getting started. I mean,
did you ever get better at recruiting and start to find any sort of enjoyment in it? Like, you were talking about struggling with starting recruiting. Was that because, okay, I don't even know how to get started and I haven't tried and failed enough to have some groundwork to work with?
Yeah.
And then eventually, did you find a way to enjoy elements of it?
The two things that have, binary again, but a few things have helped me with recruiting. One, when you see the results. So I think there's things we do in life that we don't really want them.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing it and you're like, this sucks. And I don't even want the end of it. But I know once I've hired people, like these recent guys and girls who've joined our team, I'm like, I know it's worth it. So I know the effort will be worth it. Two things that I've done that have really helped me embrace the experience and like go into it is, number one, I'm doing this thing. I started as a joke, but it's called the no complaining mode. Mm-hmm. And so for now 3 weeks, I don't complain.
Right.
I don't. So I was joking with Neville because I was going for a walk with my good friend Neville, copywritingcourse.com, 2Ks. And I was complaining about a lot of stuff. I was like, my girlfriend, company stuff, the exercising, my hand hurts. It's like a Jewish mother to some extent. And he's like, dude, just don't complain all day tomorrow. Shut the fuck up. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just don't fucking complain at all. So like the whole next day, I was texting him the most like positive messages. I said, Neville, I hope the lightness shines through you today. Neville, I hope the chariots and the golds and the gods and everything you want today is as magical as you could ever imagine. +1.
How did it feel when you were sending the positive
It was a joke, but there's something there where, and I've been doing it now 3 weeks, and I'm wanting to spread the gospel of the no complaint mode. or no complaint day. Because what's happened is that when you're not complaining about stuff, you're thinking of solutions. That's what I realized. Is that when I'm not complaining, so with recruiting, something that was challenging, yes, but it's like, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to go into it. I'm going to face it. And then eventually you figure out solutions to things and it doesn't become as much of like, oh, I have to do this stuff. So I don't complain. Second thing, you kind of hinted on it, and I'm really glad you brought that up or you started moving towards that, is I had this girlfriend in high school, Loretta, and we would be at my house or we'd be hanging out and she'd always say, make it fun.
Yeah.
And I got to the point, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not making things fun. But now I realize she was right.
Yeah.
And so in the work you're doing, all work is going to have some kind of grueling thing, but how can you make it fun? So like lawn mowing, let's say. Josh, one of the guys that works with us, he listens to podcasts and audiobooks, and he's like, I love lawn mowing. Like his favorite thing of the week is, besides working, obviously, and his family, is lawn mowing because he made it a fun activity for himself to look forward to.
Yeah.
So with recruiting, it's because I'm going to these people and I'm like, hello, and they're like, yeah, hi, and I'm asking the same questions, and they're all boring as shit, and these people don't have any excitement. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, all right, how do I make these fun? Now when I talk to people in recruiting, I just talk about, I'm like, say, what'd you have for dinner? Oh, cool, what kind of movies are you watching? And I'm just actually trying to get to know someone and make it a more enjoyable conversation. So I start looking forward to it. Like if I'm talking to a marketer, I'm like, what kind of marketing things have you worked on lately? How'd those work? Mm-hmm. Oh, cool, anything didn't work? So I'm actually learning and enjoying these conversations.
This is another thing that I've learned from you over the years is deviating from the template in a way. Like I remember specifically in one case, I got an email from you, and in the subject line, it said hungry, ? And then it was okdork.com/burritos or something. And I clicked on the link, and it was basically you saying, oh, I always wondered how many people clicked on the link in my signature, and it was a picture of you eating a burrito, like totally messy hair, wearing a hoodie or something like that. And it's something that I have reminded myself very often because my life's mantra is, what would Noah Kagan do? And it just reminded me every once in a while, like if I'm getting bored, if I'm getting a little bit out of energy, if I'm not that excited about something, I think about you and like, oh, Noah Kagan would just do some other way. Because I think that people get caught operating in some sort of a template, and they forget that it can be whatever they want it to be, whatever it is that they're doing.
It's an amazing thing because like in our company, I've actually not been doing a great job of that, but like Anton, Jamie, Chad, like this is a small thing. We do a leadership meeting, and I think you have to make sure you're thinking, okay, what are problems? What are problems? Like, and I think we just accept things. We totally start accepting things. Here's a small one. We're on Slack free. Okay, so do you ever use Slack?
Hardly ever.
But okay, so it's like, the new Skype, whatever. And it's nice, I like Slack. We're on the free plan. It's tiny, but people are like, no, I can't have the history. And I'm like, you want the history? Write it down. They're like, dude, it's like, they're like, it's $2,000 a year. I'm like, $2,000? That's all of my bar mitzvah money. And they're like, but no, do you realize like how much better the company would be from this? Like, we'd have more communication, we'd have more integrations, we'd be able to grow the business. And it was one of these things that like they almost said it in passing. And I was like, is it really that much of a difference? And they're like, yes. I'm like, if you really break down $2,000 over like a 12-month period over the amount of productivity increase from everyone having a better life and more access to things, 2,000 is nothing. So that day I went and bought it. And so now in our meetings, in our leadership meetings every other week, I'm calling it like the 1% week. So every meeting now, sometimes we'll have zero. I'm like, what is 1% tiny things that we can just fix right now that would make our business better? Because 1% compounded over a year is like 120%. Just tiny little things that'll add up. You're obviously looking for macro big wins, which take longer to do. But I'm even thinking like, it just starts getting me in the mindset of like, what are problems that I've just started accepting? That's the challenge, because sometimes you don't even know. You're just like, well, that's just the way it is. Like, why do we email on Sunday nights? Because we've always emailed Sunday nights.
Doing interviews is just boring, and that's just the way it is. And but then you start asking questions that maybe you wouldn't normally ask.
Are you humble bragging? What are you doing here?
And somehow it gets more fun. Am I humble?
No, that was like a humble confidence thing.
Was it?
A humble compliment. Yeah, a little bit. It's good.
Oh, a humble compliment.
Yeah.
Okay. What part was the compliment?
Oh, I thought you were saying that you're asking such great questions that's making the interview fun.
No, interviewing. No, I meant you were talking about recruiting.
Yeah, I was like, wow, David.
Do you remember when we were talking about recruiting like the entire last 20 minutes?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so that's something that I constantly remind myself when I start to get, if I feel like I'm in a template or something's boring to me. I mean, is there part of that thinking in this trip that you have to Chicago? Like you're wearing a T-shirt that says "Sumos in Chicago," and it's got a drawing of a sumo on it with a sumo me tattoo on its butt, and you made a T-shirt for everybody. Your company made a T-shirt. Not only did you all decide, we're going to just go to Chicago and get some work done, I imagine, and also do some team building things and bonding
trust
things.
falls, a lot of trust falls.
Lots of trust falls, and maybe you're going to do a fire walk.
Definitely fire
a coal walk, and hopefully nobody will get injured.
Totally.
And
spear throwing.
Not only that, but you got a T-shirt for it too. I don't know if you realize that just wouldn't even occur to some people to make it fun in that way.
There's a lot of things with that. So like one thing that came up with Anton this morning is I think we have this knowledge that we don't institutionalize and we don't learn from. Yeah. Right? Like we do something and then we do the exact same thing without making it a little bit better. So at the end of this trip, I'll send a survey out to everyone who came and be like, what did you love? What did you not love? What do you want differently next time? And then I could take that, standardize it, and this is what I need to get better at, standardize it so even the next time I improve all those things. And then I take feedback again and make it better again. I think one thing coming back to like people with work, not everyone should be running their own company. It's not fun, right? It's more fun generally doing cool work like individually. But I think with the retreat, like part of work I think is like three things, right? It's like getting paid well, being appreciated, and then being a part of something, right? And I think that's really what people want, right? Everyone wants to run a company, or if you can get that out of being a job or at a company, that's what you really want, I think, in a career, right? You want to feel those three things. And so the retreats are part of it. Like, who wants to be in an office? Like, I was talking with Scott Britton, lifelong learner. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know Scott.
I love Scott. I love people that bring the energy to the room. Like, they come in and you're just like, I'm so much happier. Who did that? And it's Britton. And we were having this really good discussion about, how does changing your environment change your life, right? So Anton is working from Chicago at the house we are, and he's like, man, I'm not as productive because I like being in the office, sitting at the desk with my, my sippy cup. He has a sippy cup, which, by the way, if you don't have a sippy cup, it's the ones with the straw in it for adults.
You don't even have to tilt it,
dude.
to
game
drink
change.
out of it.
If you guys don't have a sippy cup, I don't know, maybe you can put the show notes, but that is a game changer for drinking water. You just kill water. But he is productive back in the office because that's his routine and he likes that. Personally, when I can change my environment and work anywhere but the office, my shit goes crazy. Like I'm thinking, I'm stimulated, my output's higher, my like overall, in terms of business productivity and like effectiveness and enjoyment is a lot higher than going to the same, see, this is me coming back, like I don't necessarily want to be doing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like going to an office.
I mean, I've definitely felt my productivity get disrupted when I change scenery, like when I go live in a different city for a month or something. But there's something about that I like, that disruption. It makes fresh things happen, things that wouldn't happen otherwise.
Well, you were saying earlier during lunch, and we had a great lunch at Glenn's Diner, who's our sponsor today, everyone. I had the best salad in the world, the seafood salad.
Yeah,
really
going to
good.
Glenn's Diner, say that we sent them, and they'll give you some saltine.
Yeah. Ask for a 25% Glenn's Diner discount. Just say Catavi sent you.
Don't do that, please.
No, it's fine. No, it's good. They'll practice. Yeah. They'll get rejected and they'll learn. The coffee challenge.
Actually, yeah.
People love the coffee challenge where you go to a coffee place, get to ask for 10% off. They say no, and you learn how rejection feels and you move on. Yeah. That's what business is like. But what I was going to say, and I'll repeat that. The coffee challenge, go ask for 10% off, you get rejected, and you learn about rejection and moving forward with life. And that is almost one of the essence of business. Business is priorities and learning how to move forward from rejection and asking for things.
Yeah.
So, but you were saying earlier during lunch, that your best work was actually in Medellin, or the work that you were the most proud of.
Yeah.
So what was different there than you normally working in Chi-Town?
I think that in Chicago, there's just a lot of noise for me. I mean, in actual noise as in just my apartment, and there's lots of sirens and stuff. And I just live a better lifestyle in Medellin, as in I have a nicer apartment when I'm there. I can usually have access to a pool. The weather is really nice. There's not very many distractions. Like there's not a lot of stuff going on. It's not a big giant city like Chicago but the other day I went to go get a haircut. It took me 50 minutes on the bus to go from like Lincoln Park to Logan Square. 50 minutes, I find that so...
But you're not going to complain.
I find it aggravating. No, I'm openly complaining. I'll complain about it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You do you.
And in Medellin, I can just make my work I can get into a routine. Now, that said, though, that routine can stagnate, and I have to make an effort to say, oh, okay, like I need to make a trip or something, because I have I struggle with that, breaking the patterns.
Yeah.
That's part of why I like the mini lives so much. It's why I like to go spend a month somewhere, because it forces me, it disrupts things in a way that that over time is like polishing a rock or something.
Dude,
I think.
I think people have to take time, and I think journaling is probably one of the best ways, like on a weekly basis, like just write everything going on, because I think we don't realize that we can make our lives better.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, here's an example. My bed. I bought a Tuft & Needle, and I like the guys, love it, but I'm like, I wanted cushy. I wanted like a cloud. I want to be in the cloud on my bed. And I think people are like, well, the bed's good. I'm like, dog, I'm only living once. I spent a third of my life on this bed. I am going to go buy as many beds as it takes to sleep epically.
Wow.
That's not even a real word. I made that word up. And so I found this, $400 Amazon one, 12-inch memory foam, and I just like sink into it. It's not even sinking is just like a word. I float into it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like testing out different
pillows.
Like
that. You like floating into a bed.
It's just so smooth. I have these nice JCPenney sheets. JCPenney's has the best sheets.
Really?
They're like a silk.
I would never have thought.
Well, Sweet Home. You ever use the sweethome.com? It's the guys from the Wirecutter. They do it for like sheets, and it's all this home stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, the Sweet Home has all these great reviews. Like, they try all the sheets. But anyway, so my point though is, and then pillows. Like, I've gone through my pillow. Now I'm using a cool gel pillow.
You should make like a bedding review blog or something.
Do you think it's coincidental that one of my first jobs out of high school, I worked at Macy's in bed sheets?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sold bed sheets and towels. It was like a lot of cougars. I was like, grrr. Yeah. And so the point being is that, like, I think you have to just reflect on your life and be like, I don't think people recognize how much power they have to change their environment as they do. Like, even where you live, right? Like, I don't really like where I live. I'm like, dog, you spend a third of your life where you live. Like, that's all on you. And like, maybe you don't have money. All right, well, what can you do with the place you do have? It's funny. I had to go through a change recently, which was scary. It's not scary, but I guess that's a word I could label it as. I had to change apartments.
You're not in
no,
that
the place that you slept.
Yeah.
Man, we spooned hard there.
Well, I mean, considering you weren't in town, it was difficult.
I mean, you had the doll. So I actually I got a new place downtown Austin. So I moved from the east side to downtown.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of excited because it's newer, but then I'm like, man, I love my east side. And then I went and checked out the place. So I finally got to see it in person. And I was really sad. I was really bummed out when I saw it.
Wow.
It was like half the size. So imagine going from where I was. It was like
so it was like new construction. You had bought it ahead of time, or?
Yeah, I bought it. It took 2.5 years. I didn't even know what it was going to look like, really.
Wow.
But it was like next to the power plant. I was like super excited about that. Just like historically, I thought it was like a really nice place to be.
Everybody wants to be near the power plant.
The power plants are cool, man. It's like power. Like it's like heart of a city. Like it creates everything that people can live from. And I was just so excited. So I finally saw it. I'm like, can't wait. And I get inside and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a tiny jail cell. Like this is a really, this is not a first world problem. This is just more of just the lesson or the story.
Yeah, it bummed you out. It was
really
different.
bummed.
Yeah.
I was really bummed. And just quick side tip for anyone who's still listening. Don't say you're fucking like depressed or starving. Right? When people are like, man, I am starving. I'm like, no, you're hungry.
Yeah.
And when you're depressed, no, you're just momentarily sad.
I'm in a depressed mood. How about that?
And yeah, it's a temporary phase. When people say severe things, I'm like, tone it down. You're not depressed now. So yeah, I was disappointed. And then I moved in and I'm like, I have a bed, the really nice bed. Well, I had the Tuft and now I have the new one. Yeah. Got a bed frame and I have an Eames chair. And and that's all I have there. I don't have anything else yet.
Do you live there now?
I live there.
You did.
Yeah, I moved in. I get my other place. I had to go.
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating just how it was a fascinating experience for me because like I moved in, and now like I don't know if I would move back to my old place.
We're gonna take a quick break. Being productive in your business is all about mind management, not time management, which is why I use WP Engine's managed WordPress hosting to host all of my WordPress sites. They have really easy to use DIY tools, so managing my site is as simple as can be, and I can focus my mental energy on the things that I do best, like bringing you this show. I don't have to worry about installing WordPress. I don't have to worry about keeping it up to date. And I don't have to worry about backups or security. WP Engine takes care of all of it for me. With WP Engine's tools, you can quickly launch new sites, protect existing sites, and test plugin updates. They back up everything daily, and you can make changes on the staging version of your WordPress site before pushing your changes live. They also have a built-in CDN. And what does that mean? That means that your WordPress site is super fast. Visit wpengine.com/loveyourwork for up to 4 months free with WP Engine. Yeah, this is something that I pay attention to whenever I make some kind of change. And it's something we talked about with Laura. We talked about this, how sometimes when you make a decision or you make some sort of a change, you have to almost account for this change resistance. For me, it was like these shoes, they showed up and I thought they were going to be more gray, but they were a little bit more brown than I expected. I was considering sending them back, but then I remembered, like, actually, I'll wait a while and I probably, a week from now won't even notice or care. Laura's example was that she had bought this wasn't necessarily change, but this is dealing with disappointment early on in something. She had ordered a Kindle cover and it arrived scratched. And so she thought, well, I could just send it back, but also it's going to get scratched anyway, and who cares? And I can move on with my life and do something else by just keeping this Kindle cover that's scratched. You're like wrinkling your nose. You disagree with her on that, maybe.
I think there's certain things where I don't. I guess what I was reflecting on is, like, as I've gotten older, I don't want to have as many battles.
Yeah.
I think as I've gotten older, I think there's a few things, but one, I don't want to have as many battles because it takes a lot of energy energy away from other things I could be using it on, like more fun things or with friends or reading or activities. And the second thing that I was thinking about is, like, I do think it's very powerful to make decisions just on anything, just deciding. And it's almost like a muscle and a skill where, like, the more you're trying to make decisions and accepting it and not, like, back and forth. And I do that. I mean, I think we all do, but I do it. And the more I'm like, this is it, and I'm accepting it, and it's done, it just almost is like a muscle that I start getting better. I'm like, well, I made that decision. I didn't like how this was, so now I'm going to make, like, I bought a Jag. I'm leasing a Jag. And, like, literally I had buyer's remorse before I even got it. And then I got it, and I still had it, and I was like...
You're leasing a what?
Like a Jaguar.
A Jaguar.
Like this nice convertible.
Oh, okay. And you said a jet.
No.
I was like, I missed out on something.
Well, I want to talk about, what did you say? Change allocation? What's the word you used earlier?
I don't know.
You just said...
like a change bias.
No, you said change... I don't know if you have to... When you replay and listen to your voice naked. But you had to change allocation. So I'll come back. We can tell the Jags in a bit, but, like, I think the main thing is, one, making decisions is powerful. Learning from the decisions, like the Jag. Now I'm like, look, I should have just like test drove it for like a weekend versus committing fully to it.
I call it like prototyping.
It should have been a tinier bite. Yes.
I've done it like the first time when I was becoming an adult and decided, I need to get a sport jacket. I need to have a sport coat or something. But if you've never worn one, you don't know anything about it. You know nothing about it. And so I prototyped it. I went to the thrift store and got one that wasn't very good. I got like a whole bunch of different ones. They were $5 and they were ugly and crappy, but I at least got to know what I wanted. So when it was time to buy a nicer one, I was ready. I understood the decisions behind it. You should have test drove it, pun intended. Yeah. But so I think, just to reiterate, because I think for me mostly, I'm learning it. Maybe you guys are learning it too, but I'll definitely take this away. I think coming back to the house and the car and things in the future that I decide on, I think knowing that there will be, what did you say, a change allocation? I don't even remember. I don't know what it was exactly, but it was basically the fringe of a change allocation where that, like, I think when we make the changes that change our life and grow our life are going to be uncomfortable because it's different. Yes. Right? Because you are adjusting from what you are comfortable and normal. Like, think about when you go on vacation. How many times have you gone on vacation where, like, this is my market? This is where I'm going to have breakfasts. This is where I'm going to go to the pool. And you actually create this instant routine because you want that, like, consistency and that repetition that you're used to in life. Yes. But you're like, oh no, I have to get this right away. And so I think accounting for some change discomfort in your decisions, like, hey, so with the house, like, I should have said, hey, and my buddy Adam Gilbert from mybodytutor.com, one of my good friends who does health coaching, so check out My Body Tutor. He's like, dog, give it 2 weeks and then just see how you feel. And after 2 weeks, I was like, Trader Joe's is downstairs. There's a grill. There's a pool. There's like a treadmill that I can use all the time that's really convenient.
It's walkable to a lot of the things. I love that it's new. And the size, it's not forever. And that's what I started. If I think I would have said, hey, take 2 weeks with it and recognize that any change is going to be a little uncomfortable. It's been interesting to observe that moving forward with other things in my life.
It reminds me of when I was a kid and I would really want a toy. And my mom would say, wait 2 weeks and if you still want the toy, then maybe.
Yeah.
Of course I would forget it.
So maybe that's an interesting thing. So for any decision that you're either going to be making or you've had made, like maybe give a 2 week change allocation, a 2 week change buffer to understand or accept or recognize whether this is going to be a change that you should be doing or you regret doing.
And it's a skill. It's a thing that you can get used to. Like I'm in the middle of an international move. The first time that I did a mini life and I went to Buenos Aires for 6 weeks, like I just about had a nervous breakdown at the airport. I couldn't believe I was leaving my apartment for 6 weeks. Somebody else was going to be living there. I'm going to be on a different continent. And now I do that stuff all the time, and it's not really much of a big deal. Like I still experience discomfort in the process, but I've just learned to allow it to be part of the process.
I think it's also going towards it, right? So actually practicing change and practicing new things. So like for me, I'm learning Hebrew, which means I'm starting from the bottom, right? Yeah. Like I'm like Drake. I'm like starting from the bottom, now I'm Hebrew, right? And it's a new thing and I have to and it's uncomfortable. Or I was talking with Neville today. He went to a Zoroastrian conference. It's basically a Zoroastrian makeout session. Mm-hmm. So it's a chance for other Zoroastrians to meet other ones.
It's a religion.
It's a religion for Indian people. They're like the Persians of India. But it's a chance for them to basically get married and hook up. And it was one of those things where I was talking about it with a Jewish one because I am single now. And so he's like, it's one of these things where you're like, I don't want to go. It's going to be uncomfortable. I don't really want to do it. What else can I do that day? And then you go, because there's a Jewish one this weekend that I'm not in town for, but I normally just avoid.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things where I think if I go into it, do it, I'd be like, oh my God, that was so much fun. And I met such cool people and I had such a good time. But I think it's going into the things that you maybe have a little bit of hesitation around. Mm-hmm. Right? At least I don't like the word try necessarily, but at least going and doing once in a while to kind of keep practicing that change or that discomfort. Because a lot of the growth in life, I always reflect on the gym because I go to the gym often, is that your body does not change if you do the same weights over and over. Yeah. The change in your body only happens when you're doing something different. Either maybe less weights, more reps, or way heavier weight and less reps.
And sometimes the resistance you feel to doing a thing, I've learned to think of it as because that resistance is there, that must mean that I want this thing, right? If you've ever thought about making a big purchase that you're not sure, it's kind of a lot of money, but you still want it and it keeps persisting with you.
Yes.
And then eventually you go ahead and make the purchase and maybe you experience a little bit of buyer's remorse for a little bit of time, but then as time goes on, you're like, I'm so glad that I bought this thing. And just because you had that resistance was there, that feeling of discomfort was there, that was just you telling yourself that you wanted this.
There's something there with that. I mean, Adam always says, discomfort is your compass.
Yeah.
And I think there's something there. Well, I don't want to always be uncomfortable, right? I don't need someone putting their hand up my butt. I'm pretty confident I don't need that discomfort to grow. But I think with other things, it's knowing an idea of where you want to be in the future and then what stuff today, that might be uncomfortable will help you get to that point. So.
Well, it can give you a little bit of a dopamine hit if you have some sort of a goal in mind to think about as you work towards it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I'm doing this year that I've never done before, and it sounds stupid, but it's important to me, is I'm rereading my favorite books. And I think of it like relationships where and I think this is actually, I think 90% of people are non-rereaders is what I call them.
Yeah.
No one rereads because they're looking for the next thing. What's the next movie? What's the next book? What's the next thing in this story? What the next seminar? But I was reflecting on it and I was like, I have the same friend. So you notice some of the things in my life, I always want new things, right? And I think novelty is very common. But at the same time, I was like, man, these books I say are my favorite ever. And I know they're my favorite and I haven't read it in 5 or 10 years. Why don't I go just reread and see what's already there? So I'm rereading Essentialism, Ultimate Sales Machine, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'm starting with 7 Habits. I'm halfway through. And I'm like, dude, it's gold nugget after gold nugget. That book is insane. And I'm just like, why am I looking for another book? This book is great.
Yeah, when you repeat things, you see different layers and details that you didn't see before. This is something that, have you ever tried Ryan Holiday's method of having a commonplace book where I'll be reading a book and I'll dog ear a bunch of pages, and then I'll go back through a couple weeks later and I'll go to each dog ear, and then you actually will write down the part that was interesting for that. So you have an index card, so you're like really doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Then there's other books that I reread, like Tim Kreider's We Learn Nothing. The essays in there are just, you have never had an original thought about the human condition.
No way.
Because
What's
this
it called?
book, We Learn Nothing. Actually, Tim Ferriss, I think, published it in audiobook or something like that. He definitely did a lot of promotion of it. But I've been reading it just as I've been trying to get better at writing over the last year. Just especially if you're trying to get better at writing, or if you really want to get to understand a writer and internalize what they write, just reread their stuff over and over again.
I mean, I think that's
out loud sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great lesson for everything, where, one, I don't go back to the books. Like, now I am, but what I do is once I read a book, I'd say 70% of the books I do a book report. Mm-hmm. And I'll publish them on OkDork, or I'll keep them private if it's like a smaller, less takeaways. Yeah. But those book reports I never reread, but it just helps me internalize a little bit more writing those things down.
Add some rigor to. I've got a book list at cademy.net/reading. And so I'll write stuff about books that I read as well. It helps bring rigor to, because there were for so long I would read books and be like, oh, that book was awesome. And then somebody would be like, oh, what's it about? And then I realized I actually don't know.
That's why I don't like blog posts, because blog posts and like podcasts, for some extent, like their same message is not repeated enough for me to take it away. Mm-hmm. Right? But when I read a book, as you said, like they're saying one thing literally for 300 pages. And at the end of 300 pages, I'm like, all right, I got it. Stop.
Yeah.
But one thing to add to that, and that's why I prefer books in general as a learning format.
Yeah.
Books are, a direct teacher. But I think one thing that you were saying that I think for myself I'm learning, and maybe for the audience here too, is that like how can you go to someone who already is an expert around it? Like you were saying, this guy is a great writer. I read his stuff; it makes me better. And I think we just are like, oh, that's cool. But in all aspects of your life, like, why aren't you going to a health expert? Why aren't you going to like a dressing expert? Like I'm using an interior design expert right now. I'm using a Hebrew expert. I'm looking for a marketing expert, either to surround yourself with. Basically, it's like, why wouldn't you want to, if you're wanting to improve and grow yourself, like the best is someone who's already done it.
Yes.
Right? They've already been to the promised land. Like you go there and they're like, oh yeah, just turn left on Albuquerque and you'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. You can talk to somebody for 5 minutes and just get
Dude, like the webinar guy, I've had 2 webinar experts review our presentation. Now Ronik's leading our webinars, and they like literally watched it, and like one of them did something really amazing. He was looking at the times of everything that happened during the webinar. He's like, at 4 minutes this happened, at 6. So he broke it down on like a per minute basis. Mm-hmm. He was actually able to adjust like attention levels and like activities because he's looking at the times of the webinar.
Wow.
So like even with the podcast, you don't really get that level of detail of data, but maybe we put something in the middle. Like in the middle and at the end, you have like tracking things that like I'll say something like, hey, go to this link and see if anyone goes.
Yes.
But that's something that an expert who's done this thousands or millions, but thousands of times can come in and give you that. But that's, I think that can apply to almost every aspect of life.
Yeah.
But I think most people aren't willing to spend the money too. I think people are like, oh, I don't want any money. But it's like, if you think about the compounded, one, you only live once. So this time doesn't come back. And so the money is what it's for. That's what the money is for. But the second thing as well is the compounded return. Compounded returns is one of the most amazing things, but the compounded return of the knowledge that will then exist forever is just going to produce like dividends beyond your dreams, beyond like what the random ass stock market does to me. I fucking hate the stock market.
Speaking of compounded returns over long periods of time, did you realize that we're really close to our 10-year anniversary?
No way. Is it? What day is it? I know you know the day.
I wonder if you know. I know the day.
Say July 28th?
August 26, 2006.
Wow.
So we're getting pretty close to 10 years. It was the Metro
Women 2.0.
Women 2.0 barbecue. And like the next day there was a picture in Valleywag making fun of about how there was almost all guys in the hot tub.
Dude, that was a great time.
The picture. Yeah, it was a fun first meeting.
10 years,
I remember something from like around that time because you and I would mow work quite a bit. Oh, that's when you work at cafes. We were working at a cafe. I remember this one time we were working at a cafe. I think we might have been in Mountain View, and and all of a sudden you seemed like you were kind of sad, and I learned that you had just read that Facebook was worth $1 billion.
some, yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, oh man, I'd be worth $7 million if I were still working for Facebook. And okay, you've talked about Facebook a million times, you've written about it, you've written a book about it and everything. But I wonder, because you're somebody who like, one of the things I've learned from you is how much you inject your personality into the companies that you build. Like, was there anything about the experience of being in this company where ultimately it wasn't the right thing for you, right? Like, it hurt to not be at Facebook anymore, but ultimately It wasn't the right thing for you. Has that propelled at all your desire to make things yours, to make it fun, to inject your personality into things?
There's an interesting thing in life where, like, if you get burned by like a hot pan, you're like, don't touch the hot pan again, right? And so I think I try to be considerate of things I've done then. That doesn't mean I should never do them. I just shouldn't have done it then. Yeah. Right. And so what I mean by that is like the car. Doesn't mean I should never get another car. I should just be a little bit more considerate. So like for Facebook, I think what I've noticed, especially now that I've hired a bunch of people, we have an amazing team of 25 now. I think I've said, all right, Noah at Facebook was all about individual Noah. And It was like the Noah show, and Noah wanted to go to interviews and conferences and things like that. I think it made me a little bit more considerate to who I want to be around. Like, we've hired some people who want to be mavericks and individuals at the company, and it's a team. I've never seen a one-man basketball team win the championship. And are those people like the equivalent of what you were when you were at Facebook? That's where I was at 24. The shower, is that? Yeah, I don't know what I wrote in the article when I originally posted that. But there's two different types of people, right? I don't even remember all the different labels of it. I don't even remember what I wrote. I don't exactly remember. But I mean, in terms of the personality, I think, if you look at my career, like I've had like 4 jobs in 4 years until I finally like started at my first company, Kickflip, and then AppSumo now 6 years. I mean, I think as humans, we protect ourselves. We're self-defensive, where we rationalize or justify anything that was bad. Mm-hmm. We're like, oh, well, Facebook and I got to learn and do all these other things. So you kind of defend yourself. It wasn't right anyway, or but they were growing. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really what you do next that matters most. And so it took me like 6 months of being depressed, and then finding the next thing. Were you depressed, or were you in a depressed mood? I was depressed. I was really sad for a long period of time. And I think that's going to happen in life, right? Yeah. It's gonna, like, if you don't have bad things happening to you, I don't know if it means you're not trying hard enough, but it's almost like you're not taking any risk if you don't fail, right? It's like, what did Jordan always says, like, especially because we're in Chi-Town, Jordan's like, I think I've missed more shots than I've made, right? Yes. Right? He has. Jordan's only say a 40% shooter. I mean, more than half the time the guy's not making stuff, but he keeps going out and shooting it. And I think with Facebook, my takeaways or my experiences from there were like, one, like, you're looking for team players. You're not looking for one-man, teams. You're looking to being a team, and Facebook wanted that. I think as well, like, one, it's not the Noah show, and I think that's where I learned differently from Facebook. It was the Mark show. I think at my company, it's not even really mine, it's ours. I don't really make it my show. I make it a team show. Like, these guys are doing all the amazing work. I'm helping them and being a cheerleader. It's not, I shouldn't get the credit, they should get the credit. There are definitely a lot of positive things I learned, but in terms of like company and things like that, I'd say not as much being individual, making it more of a team thing. How did you shift to, or maybe it wasn't a shift for you, maybe it was something came naturally, but how did you come to be a team player like that, where you're sharing the glory with your teammates? It wasn't that I don't like sharing glory back then. I just think I was more about like my own personal brand and having a blog and having like people know who I was. Yeah. And I realized like the best way to get known is not through trying to get known. Make other people awesome. It's making other people awesome, or making things that make things that are awesome. Yeah. Like I've gotten way more known because of like AppSumo and SumoMe. They're like, oh, who made that? Oh yeah, Noah's the team, and then Noah happens to be a part of the team. Right. But your original question though was like, it was like, I think it was about one of the things that I've learned from you, and that I consistently think of when I think of what would Noah Kagan do, is that, oh, I can make this
this my own. There's been lots of times where maybe I've checked in with you. We've been having a chat or something, and I'm like, I'm doing this thing in my business, and maybe I don't like doing it, and you're like, well, then don't do it. Do something else. And duh, okay. Only Noah seems to know that, or you're one of the people who knows that best, I think. And it just makes me curious if you've had this. This crushing defeat of, okay, you would have made $150 million or something if you were at Facebook.
Yeah.
That if I'm sure part of it was already your personality, but then part of it might have been like, oh, that was a painful experience. Let's make it better. Let's make it fun.
Well, I think your point originally was like, how did I change my ways, or how has that adjusted over time? Right, and so like my previous company, I was a dictator.
This is the team player thing.
Yeah,
okay,
but
sorry,
I think,
went back further.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean like the team player that came through being a dictator at my previous companies, and it wasn't enjoyable. It was enjoyable for me because I got to make all the decisions, and I was like, this is awesome. I just get everything I want. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case at all in the past 6 years, because what I realized is that there's a lot of smarter people than me, and it's very hard to check your ego on that because everyone thinks they're smart. You never meet a company that doesn't say they have A players. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
You ever meet a company that's like, dude, we have way average people here.
We are a company of decently talented people in a place that has okay weather and...
Yeah. What's your basketball team name? Yeah, Ordinary. And it's hard to check your ego, and actually, if you meet someone smarter, it's generally uncomfortable because you feel some maybe inferiority.
Yeah.
And so, I think I'm smart, but the way to actually build a great company is to bring on smarter people. And the only way you can do that is not tell them what to do. Because if they're smarter than you, you should enable them to do that. And it's only through seeing it. A lot of times you hear shit like this on a podcast or in a book or something, you're like, yeah, whatever, dick. But only when you experience it, you'd be like, dude, that guy was kind of right. And so being around smarter people at SOMA Group, and like hearing their ideas, like, hey, here's what I want to do. They're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, that was way better, right?
Can you remember a time? Was there any resistance to that?
There's always going to be resistance. Anything
for
that
you.
Like one book that if you guys are looking to read a little bit more in depth about this is Ricardo Semler.
Yeah.
So he has a book called Maverick, or 4-day work week, 4-day weekend, or 7-day weekend. But basically one of the major concepts in his book is in letting the team be their own CEOs and never challenging them to some extent. His is too extreme.
Yeah.
But his is basically like, if I ever tell them to do it and I'm the boss, that's why you have to do it. He's like, they will never trust me again. And so he like goes out of his way, and that's really stuck with me. Where we have this at our company, it's not Noah's right. It's like the best idea is right. And only when I started recognizing that other people have better ideas and enabling them to do what they need to do and getting the fuck out of their way, can they really like grow the business, grow themselves, and kick a lot more ass.
Can you remember like a specific first time when you saw that happen?
I mean, a lot of times, dude, you want examples? Let's talk about AppSumo for a second. So with AppSumo, AppSumo is a Groupon for geeks, which is also founded in Chicago. It was Groupon. AppSumo is based in Austin. There have been deals. There have been deals that I'm like, we will not do that deal at all. I don't think we should do that deal. And Eamon, who's running it now, and Anton, who ran it before, were like, I think we should do these. And I'm like, why do you think we should do it? This. Okay, do it. I don't agree with it, but you're in charge, you do it. Deposit photos, webinar, I think Webinar Ninja or Webinar Jam have been some of the best deals in our company history.
And you didn't want to do them?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the biggest deals in company history, like huge revenue for those, our partners, customers love them, and our business made some money, were ones that I was not fully in support of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that to me is like, that, and then with Suomi, it's like, Anton will do some copy on a sales email that I'm like, I don't really know if that's what I want it to be. He's like, let me do it, see how it goes. I'm like, demolished. Like it's a sales email that goes out and performs really well for Suomi. And it's only when you have to let it go. Like if you're doing everything as a leader in a business, or if you're trying to run a company or group, if you're doing everything, then you're doing something wrong. Because if you're not hiring great people to actually be able to do it better than you, or at least 95, the idea is that they're at 105% of you or 120. But if you're still having to do it, there's no way you're going to be growing a business because you can't do everything. Right.
You mentioned your personal brand. I remember there was a period of time when it seemed to be the thing people would always say about you is Noah knows everybody in Silicon Valley. This is back when we lived in the Valley. And by the way, you and I have 124 Facebook friends in common, so that must mean that I know.
That's so important to me.
That's not important to you? I think that's interesting to know how many friends you have in common with somebody.
I'm sure there's some psychological studies.
You think it's not interesting at all? Okay. But I remember people being like, oh yeah, Noah knows everybody. And you were kind of sick of that reputation. But wasn't that kind of an asset when you were starting AppSumo? Did that play in at all, being able to make all these deals with these software companies and such?
Yes and no. A lot of the AppSumo deals didn't come from that. Most of the companies I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
But I emailed people saying, like, this is what we talked about, being selfish and helping someone else if you're looking for things. I emailed them like, hey, can I send you $10,000? And that gets most response. Generally, most people will respond to that because most people want $10,000. I think there's a bigger concept with what you're talking about. For me, at least the way I'm taking away is that, like, if your career matters to you, which some people it doesn't. Some people it doesn't, and it's not my style or my preference. But if your career matters to you, only you being around amazing people or in an amazing environment would you be the best, right? Like, no matter what, like, if you're in D League for sports, like, you'll never be the best. Like, only when you get to, like, the majors instead of the minors, do you really see how good you are or not. And so being in the valley and if you care about technology, like, being in the valley, you will be around the best people. And that will make you, if you suck, you're going to stay sucky, but at least it'll improve your level a lot. Like, some of my highest career growth was at Facebook because I was around literally the best in the world. At that time, now the people, they're not. Most people that I've met there, I'm like, Mark, really? Dog, you're getting desperate. But at that time, honestly, I was definitely the worst. And that was a hard pill to swallow, and I had to push myself to grow a lot. So I think that's the thing I think is more interesting than, like, networking and stuff like that. Yeah, meeting people was helpful, and, like, it's definitely convenient. But it's also, I was from the Bay Area, but I put myself in the right place to be able to meet those people. Yeah. It's not to say you can't build a great company. In Austin, we have a Bay Area caliber team. We have the best people in Austin. Yeah. I would say our company has the best. But it's a lot easier, if you want to be a model, going to New York. If you want to be an actor, going to LA. If you want to be a ski bum, go skiing, I don't know. Utah?
Breckenridge,
something like that? Maybe Seattle. Putting yourself in the place where those opportunities can happen. Because it's possible in other places, but it's a lot easier. So
inviting serendipity is...
Yeah, you're putting yourself... Exactly. I would say in terms of networking, has it been helpful? Yes. If I was like... It's very convenient that I have access to almost anyone I want. Yeah. Because I invested a lot in meeting people. And I think the easiest way of doing that is hosting events. Right? So it doesn't even have to be a mega event. It could be small events. It could be dinners.
You hosted conferences.
I hosted conferences, and I never did it before. But
I was invited... Max Levchin and
I just invited these people. Be like, hey, I think it'd be fun if we put on this conference, invite all our friends, and we talk about cool shit. So either do conferences, do coffees,
meetups,
do dinners. I think you can do a lot more creative things.
Podcast is also a good one.
Actually, what's really interesting is podcasting is an amazing way to meet people.
It is.
Right? You can email like an owner of Alinea, be like, hey, I have this podcast that's downloaded thousands of times. It's actually an interesting marketing hack. You don't lie. I never encourage lying ever. I want full integrity. But has it been downloaded tons of thousands of times? Yeah. But like in reality, you get like 5,000 downloads an episode or something like that. 4,000, 3,000, 5,000.
Well, I'm releasing an episode on, I think, on this Thursday. Yeah. And we'll be hitting like 100,000 downloads.
Total.
Yeah.
But individually.
What is 100,000 downloads?
So my only thing is that if you're like, man, I'm a nobody, no one knows me. You can say the future. Yeah. Right? So this is just a hack that I've found helpful and never lie. You can say like, hey, we've been downloaded thousands of times. Or if you don't even have a podcast, hey, my podcast is going to be very popular. Like I've already have interview requests out to these people. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A lot of people are just like, oh, I don't know anybody, I don't know anything. It's like, well, everyone starts somewhere. So, but yeah, podcasting and interviewing is an amazing way also to meet. Like I have a lot of friends like Scott Britton met through podcasting. Yeah, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. I've been running this from South America most of the last. I was going to say from a cave in the south. From my closet. Yeah. Okay, so we'll wrap up with some of the standard questions. Single, Jewish, 34. Social security available? Not yet. I'm still working through that. Okay. What's the biggest compromise that you've had to make to get where you are today? Not being an individual contributor. Yeah. Right now it is. I really love I like being a soldier on the front. Making other people rock. And my job now is to do whatever it takes to make sure everyone in our company is super happy. And like what my preference as an individual, like I'm just doing my own thing and like I'm creating and starting. And to me it's a sacrifice that I care more about the company and I care about every single person that's there And so I'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Isn't it kind of hard to be the boss sometimes? You sort of feel like you're unappreciated every once in a while, or?
I think, my cousin, this is funny, man. My cousin was 21 at the time, and I took him to a lunch place, Taco Deli. It's my favorite tacos, and I bought him tacos. And then we're canoeing later in the day. And I'm like, you ungrateful bitch. You didn't say thank you for the tacos. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I bought you tacos. You say thank you. I'm teaching you a lesson here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, did you want to buy me the tacos? I was like, yeah. Were you happy you got me tacos? Because, I would appreciate it. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, what do you need to hear that from me from? And that stuck with me. He's like, and I love Josh. He's my cousin. And
I like Josh too.
Yeah, Josh. And so Josh said that to me, and I think there's something there where you may have to think about why do you actually need that recognition, and are you feeling it with the leader generally will get none. Maybe some of the glory, sometimes it varies. But I think within a business, if you're trying to grow a big business, it's about empowering. Hiring people now is harder than it's ever been, and the separation from the best versus the worst is getting even further. And the best people want to be acknowledged. That's top 3 thing that matters at work. And so if I'm spending my day trying to get my own acknowledgement, that means it's time and energy that they're not. Which frankly, they're doing all the really interesting work now. And so my job is to empower them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I should be last in line. I know there's a book probably called I think Leaders Eat Last. And I believe that's true.
Yeah. When's the time that you left money on the table in exchange for something that was important to you?
Left money on the table. That's not. What is time? I mean, last week, 2 days ago, right? Do you know Clarity FM?
Yes.
Clarity.fm. It's these consulting calls.
Oh, yeah. I'm on Clarity FM at clarity.fm/Cadavy.
So I'm on.
Book time with me.
I don't even want to say mine because I don't want people requesting it. So I've gotten requests 2 in the past 2 weeks so my hourly is $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
And people said, hey, I want to talk to you for half an hour to these people, 2 separate ones.
Yeah.
So 1,000 total. And I said no both times. And it's one, because my return for an hour of time is so much greater doing SOMA work. Working on SOMA Me for an hour, I will get $10,000 at the end of the year, or $100,000 from things I'm working on. But short term, it's man, $1,000, that could buy me Subway sandwiches for a year or whatever it is. But life is priorities, and that's what it comes down to. And one thing that's really stuck with me, I had an interview with this guy, Nitsan, and it was amazing. He doesn't drink. He drinks very infrequently. And I said, why don't you drink? He's like, because every day is so critical to me that I don't want to waste it with a hangover. And I think with even an hour of time, it seems trivial, but that's the shit that adds up. That's why I always encourage people to buy faster computers. I encourage people to buy faster laptops, faster phones, whatever saves you time, because that's all you have. That is the number one thing. Mm-hmm. And so this kind of half hour here, 60 minutes there, did I not make $1,000? Yeah. But did I work towards what I really want, which is assume me to be very successful? Yes.
Yeah. What's the last book that you read that changed the way that you saw something?
I'm reading 7 Habits. That's changed my way completely. I mean, it's already changed my life big time. Best book I've read in a long time, Replay. That was
Replay.
Yeah, by Ken Grimwood. So good.
What's it about?
It's basically, this guy has Groundhog's Day every day. Not every day. He has Groundhog's Day for 20 years. And he gets to keep reliving his life over knowing what he knows. Mm-hmm. So he already knows everything.
This is a fiction book.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But
it's just really interesting how would you live your life, and it's just interesting to reflect on, how would you live your life knowing everything you know now if you had to start over at 18? And I just think conceptually it's really interesting to think about.
That could inform the way that you live your life today.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like chapter 2 of 7 Habits. Begin with the end in mind.
I was just talking about this with somebody the other day, how aging, getting older, for me, I felt like the most obvious things about time passing were totally beyond me. I just didn't have an understanding that I was gonna get older in a way. So now every once in a while I try to think oh, well, wait, what am I gonna be like in 5 years or 10 years? And is there some advice that future me wants to give me now?
What kind of advice did you give yourself?
I don't know. I guess I haven't done it for a while.
What do you think it would be?
Maybe it is just it's sort of self-referential in that it would be to think about the future a little bit. But at the same time, I'm always accepting my own mortality as well. I think that's a really powerful thing.
No, sure. Accepting it. I mean, I think
accepting that you're not permanent, so it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily gonna, things don't necessarily matter.
I think, you know what's crazy? I was digitizing all my photos so I could put them on an album. And I was digitizing these photos, which is cool because now I have this tablet on the wall I'm going to put up.
Yeah.
And all my photos will be rotating through it so I can reflect on everything I've done in my life and see friends and see cool experiences to do that. My brother did. I thought it was a really great idea. Like a tablet with all your photos.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see photos of me in like college where I had more hair. And it made me almost a little sad. Right? It's like, oh my God, I'm balding now and shit. That's crazy talk. Luckily, my face is pretty decent, so I'm okay.
Have you ever seen the 7-Up series?
No.
It's like a BBC thing where they follow these people starting at 7 years old, and every 7 years they did a documentary about each of them, and now they're like 70 or something.
Is that good?
And it's excellent, but for me personally, I find it like depressing.
Dude, it's hella sad.
It bums you out to see somebody and you see their dreams when they're 7, and then you see them at 70 something and
like doing crack on the street.
Well,
meth.
It's for me. It makes things look like it was already written from the beginning. For some of these people, it has that appearance to it. There's not a lot of surprises.
I mean, I think that's the point, though. Like the 7-Up series, or even me looking at my college photos, is to appreciate every single day and like maximize as much as you can. Like if there's things you want tomorrow, sometimes you have to sacrifice today.
Yeah.
But also like every day counts. Like Chad wants to live forever, my business partner, and I love him. And he wants to live forever because he's like, there's so much things I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do it all. So you really have to, like, who am I spending time with? What am I working on? Where am I?
I can relate to that too. Do you make your bed?
Every day. I even make beds when I'm traveling. I make it in hotel rooms.
Has that always been a thing for you?
I think a friend of mine named Ron Gutman he told me about it like 10 years ago. Do you know Ron? Nave?
I don't think I do.
All right, healthtap.com. So Ron, he's like, hey, I think he was in the Israeli army. He's like, number one thing, make your bed. You basically start the day with a win. Yeah. I'm trying to, yeah.
Do you have a final message for our listeners who are looking to carve out success by their own definition?
Yes. What was the line we're saying? Do you know what's better than good?
No. What is?
Great.
Great?
Think about that.
How about perfect? Is perfect better than great?
Perfect almost never happens.
Don't even bother.
No, what's better than good is great. I think we can have a good life, or do you want to have a great life? And, what things do you really want in life, and what do you need to do to achieve them?
Mm-hmm. And where can people find more of you? Where should they go?
For my company, if you have a website, you're looking to grow your email list and kick more ass, sumome.com.
Say it 7 times, okay.
I've already said it a lot of times. And then my personal site, if you're looking to learn more about marketing, and I just send random thoughts out, is okdork.com or at Noah Kagan on Grindr. Just kidding. Snapchat. Just kidding. No, Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter, it's at Noah Kagan.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that we get to do this again someday, because
there's
so much more that I want to dig into. Yeah, we really there's so much, like we could go for another few hours. But anyway, thank you so much for coming, Noah Kagan.
We're hugging big time.
Enjoy Chicago. There we have it. Noah and I talked a lot about making value-packed webinars, and well, I'm holding a webinar myself soon. Do you ever get stuck on a creative project? Do you hate staring down a blank canvas with a deadline breathing down your neck? If you do, learn how to bust through creative blocks in my upcoming webinar. I'm having it on the 5-year anniversary of the launch of my book, Design for Hackers, coming up on September 14th. And there's going to be a special announcement. So go to cadavy.net/webinar to claim your free spot. That's cadavy.net/webinar. And before I go, I've got to ask, do you like books? If you do, sign up for my book recommendations. About 90% will be nonfiction on subjects spanning from biographies to neuroscience. Just go to cadavy.net/reading and get the first set of recommendations right away. This has been Love Your Work, and I'm David Cadavy. The theme music for this show is See in You, performed by the Album Leaf, courtesy of Sub Pop Records. Love Your Work is a production of Cadavy Inc.